Like we talk about this a lot to artists, don't we? Because artists, like, our favorite thing to say is like artists think that the brand is just how good they look, like what clothes they're wearing. It's like,
I think that's the first thing. I think it's a buzzword in this industry right now. Brand. Everyone says it. What's your brand? Like, even when we're getting on call with artists that we want to work with, or we're in a consultation, the first thing is, what's your brand? And I would say a good 90% of people do not know what their
What it
brand
really
is.
means.
Yeah, either they don't know what they're branding or what branding actually means.
The amount of times we get artists on course like, oh, I've got a brand kit, and I'm like, oh, sick, this person's really organized, and they send it and it's like a color wheel and a logo and maybe a couple of stage outfits, and I'm like, this is 10%.
Yeah. So what would you say? Because that's kind of your thing, really, brand.
well, I'm going to quote our venerable Frank Wilkes and look, sound, and story.
That's it.
We use that quite a lot. He did steal it from somebody else. Sorry,
Shout out somebody else.
It's my idea.
Yeah. I think it's important to say that everything is Frank's idea. We don't realise that he's thinking it plants out on our head. Yeah.
So I think if you say look, sound, and story, and that's the first thing anyone listening should be writing down and trying to figure that out. But most people would think look is just or what I wear or how I look. What would you say that?
Yeah, I think it's the kind of whole package in it when you think about your music. I mean, it kind of is what you wear, but it's your style, it's your attitude, how you carry yourself, isn't it? That you like, you want people to look at you and go, I'm going to enjoy what that person does, even if you're confounding expectations.
I think that's an interesting one, confounding expectations. Like, for example, one of the artists that we manage, the look straight away, and it's obviously there's an advantage of it, but just a white guy doing Afrobeat just breaks the norm straight away, kind of thing. And I think that's sometimes it's confounding expectations, sometimes is re-amplifying what people think you should look like. Like, so how many times have we've heard the rapper and then we go look at the image and I'm like, yeah, this is not it.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
think it's about understanding, like, and I hate the word, but understanding like aesthetics is really important as well. Like I think all artists need to have some kind of understanding of the fashion industry, unless they've got the kind of budget to bring in a stylist or a creative director or something. But are you going to be the street style? Are you going to be the Y2K? Are you going to be, knowing when someone says that to you, knowing what that looks like, I think is really important, because I've found with artists, if you understand the name of the aesthetic you're going to go down, it's so much easier to find where you fit, because I mean, Pinterest becomes your best friend then.
Because you have a process that you normally do with, because we this is a service we do offer. You have a process that you go through. Do you want to walk us through that?
So when I'm doing like a branding board for artists, which is literally me going onto Pinterest, finding images that I think represent the brand, putting them all onto a one sheet with the logo, because then artists can look at that and quite easily start picking out a colour wheel, because you can pick out the main colours that keep reappearing. Then you've got your colour wheel. Does the logo fit the brand? Does the brand fit the sound? I'll then send that to the artist and get their opinions on it. But most people would think that me doing a brand board, all I'm doing is listening to the music, and it's like, that's like the last thing I do, really. The main things I want to know is what inspires you. And I'm not just talking other artists, I'm talking films, books, like politics, cultural moments. Like, what do you consume on a day-to-day? Because I think artists don't realise that these things are a huge part of their sound without them even realising it. And it's the craziest thing. I did one for an artist, and I sent the branding questions, which are like, what do you do in your spare time? What kind of books do you read? Like, are you into art? Like, even things like sports and football clubs and venues, nights out, all that kind of thing. And sometimes there'll be a massive range. So there'll be like, have a certain author or a certain brand they're into, and it's completely contradicts another thing they sent me. But the crazy thing is, when you put it all together, it just makes sense. And I think that's where artists go wrong. They try and fit into something that already exists. And they try and go, oh, well, I'm this type of artist, but I've got a real interest in this, but it doesn't match my music at all. But the idea of having a brand is bringing that together.
I think that's breaking it down is so important, because, like I said, when you break it down to kind of look, sound, and what's the last one?
Story.
When you break it down into three, you realize, okay, the look can be totally different from what the sound is. Because that's the thing, a lot of times, like, I've had it with artists that I've had consultations with, and they're like, yeah, this is my style in terms of my look, but it just doesn't match my sound. And I'm like, but that can be different.
That's a brand in itself.
Yeah.
And that's how stuff's evolved. Like street style clothing, right? That was always associated with kind of like rappers and more urban music, if you like. But now if you look at, you know, like the girly pop artists, that's how they're dressing now as well. And that's because people have not let a certain genre define how they dress. And that is how stuff grows and evolves.
It's like the skater kind of, like, it's called skater style, but it's because obviously they all used to use into like punk music and like indie rock and stuff. But hip hop is heavily influenced by skater style right now. You get what I mean? Even Afrobeat, you get what I mean? The way that the Afrobeat stars are dressing and stuff, a lot of it's very influenced by
It's all like the long shorts and the vests and the big
kind of
boots and
thing.
stuff,
So
yeah.
it seems that crossing over. So once you figure out your visuals, then you then go into your sound.
Well, I think the other thing about the visuals, I would say, as well as the consistency, is having that consistency across all platforms. And that kind of that mood board, that brand board kind of lets you say, okay, I'm going to be like, so somebody goes and finds you on TikTok, they know it's you straight away.
Yeah.
They find you on Insta, they
Even
know
down
it's
to
you.
the color grading sometimes.
Oh my God, yeah.
Totally.
Like the way you, because there's some artists, immediately I see that I know it's you because of the way you color grade your videos.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. The type of font you have, the way the font sits, the way your hook sits, all of that stuff. I think it's important, especially now that the front end of Instagram is going back to the old school style of where Instagram started. You get what I mean? And that's why they've introduced the ability for you to be able to move posts as well, so you can create something that is aesthetically pleasing once you land on the front page. Like, you don't want to go in there and then you've got black and white and then random colors. It just,
It
it
doesn't
would
make
just,
sense. It's confusing for people. And I feel like, and we'll kind of get onto the more marketing side of things, but in order to market to a cold audience, it has to make sense.
Yeah.
If you've got someone who's never seen you and never heard you before, they come onto your page and they're conflicted or confused, that you've lost them. Do you know what I mean? So it has to be consistent. But I think people think that look, sound, and story all have to intertwine and link, and they don't. Like, your look can be so different from your sound, which can be so different from your story, but it's how you package that. That's what makes a really good brand.
I think once you've put all three together, because especially when you're talking about the look and some of the questions you ask when you're filling out the mood board, I think it's important that it then kind of informs your ideal fan, which makes it easier for you to go find those fans, to go target those people. You get what I mean? Like, when you know, okay, I go to the clubs, the people that go to the clubs, they do this, they do this, they do this. The way I can target potential fans at the clubs is this kind of thing.
But also, I think when we're talking about your avatar, so like your ideal fan, if you are, and I'm going to use Connor as an example here, who's our videographer, because when we were first talking about his branding, there's a clothing company in Manchester called Drama, and I think they are, in terms of like the strength of their brand, it's unbelievable. They've got it absolutely down to a T. Connor loves Drama. He thinks they're a really cool brand and he buys the clothing, and that's fine. So he is a fan, he is a customer. But when he found out that the main guy was really influenced by Tarantino, who's also someone that Connor's a massive fan of, it grew that connection even more. So even though Tarantino, he's obviously a movie director, he hasn't got anything to do with clothing, just bringing that into the brand strengthened that connection. And that means that, you know, if you're an artist and you're really into something, you're like, well, no one else is going to like my music and also like this thing. You'd be surprised how many people you can target based on something that's nothing to do with your music. And they're like, they're getting connected twice. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I would always say, so sometimes it's easier to connect that way. And it kind of goes back to like the marketing side, which we'll talk about later when you're doing your wide nest casting.
Wide nest.
Yeah, wide nests. With the birds.
Yeah. Sparrows.
But yeah, like just doing that type of casting really helps you hit people that got nothing to do with your music, really. But what would you call sonic identity then? What's your sonic brand?
You know, the thing about that is that's the one thing that artists should have nailed down, isn't it? They should that's what they should be coming to us with all the time, being like, yeah, this is my set. They don't always have it, I suppose, you know.
I think sometimes it's not having the team to help you figure that out. So a lot of artists think they know what they're... So my thing is quite controversial in the way I look at it and the way I approach it. I always think, especially if you want to grow a little bit more than just your average artist, you do not determine what your sonic kind of persona is. The audience tells you. You get what I mean? A lot of artists wake up and they say, I'm gonna be this. This is who I am. This is what I'm sticking with. And they do that for 10 years with no results. Instead of, these are the ideas of what I've got. Let me do a bit of market research. Let me throw some stuff out, see what sticks, see what people are interested in, see what people are browsing more and engaging more with. Try that a couple more times, and then the audience will tell me if this is viable. That's the way I really see it. But I know a lot of people don't agree with that.
I do agree with you, but I do think it kind of contradicts the point of you don't want a cold market to get confused. So I do feel like you can apply that theory, but you still have to stay within an umbrella. So if you're a pop artist, you stay within pop, but you might do more electro pop or dance pop or acoustic pop or indie pop or something like that. And I think artists need to do that at quite an early stage. But again, like I said before, I think the brand is the most important thing, because if you have a strong brand that makes sense, you can sell whatever you want.
Yeah, true. But wouldn't you say that if we're saying the sonic identity is part of the brand, because obviously you're saying, Steve is saying that that's the one thing you should have figured out. But wouldn't you argue that I think a lot of the artists that come through our platform do not know what their sonic brand is?
So there's an interesting thing that I read, and I can't remember where I read it, but it was that really a musician, an artist, doesn't find themselves and understand who they are as an artist until they reach about 30. It's that point of like development, because you're doing things, you're trying new things, and who knows
Even
who
as
they
a
are when
human being,
Yeah.
you don't really find yourself to your. But we have so many young. That makes a lot of sense.
I feel like that's going to change though over time, and I think
Well, yeah, it's growth, isn't it? It's growth and development. You know, you kind of grow as a person anyway, and you sort of grow out of. You might have something that you do that you like. You'll look back on and be like, a couple of years ago, you're like, oh god, yeah, that wasn't me at all. Because I think especially with being younger, you kind of do things more to please people than please yourself. Is really it so often happens. So I think you can make music thinking that's what music you should be making, rather than like sort of looking into yourself and thinking, well, what am I? What is my identity?
I completely agree with that. But I think it's easier than it used to be, because before the days of TikTok and Instagram, you were only really being like developed by the people around you and the people you go and see in real life. Whereas now kids can spend an hour on TikTok and see this artist is doing this style, this artist is doing this style. They're so, what's the word, consumed by the internet that they can find the answers, I think, a lot quicker.
Counterpoint to that is that they're getting hit with so much that they're getting information overload.
Yeah,
Decision
paralysis. I would argue that, and this conversation I was having with someone too long ago, actually, that how many new genres are emerging. It seems it's not happening anymore, because think of how long it takes to develop a new genre, spending time with a producer, experimenting, doing all of that stuff. How many artists are still at that stage where they're willing to put 5-10 years of developing a sound? You get what I mean? Whereas now it's just, oh, I know that works, or this person tried that, I'm going to try something similar. Not even in a kind of like they're not willing. It's just, why would you know? That's what you're influenced by, because that's what you're seeing all the time.
I think then we can look to artists like Charlie XCX. She's been in the game for years, and we were discussing this off camera, but she has got such a strong brand that she's been able to flip like that with genre. And she has created something. I say it's new, it's not new. It's very old, but she's brought something back and made it modern. And I think the reason it's sold so quick is because the branding is so strong. Like you were saying before, her team have just
they've really yeah. I mean, so if you've got, let's say you've got the sonic right, you've got the looks right in terms of the aesthetic. Now it's the story then, like
the most important part.
Because could you argue that not everyone has a story?
Everybody has a story. Everybody's got some sort of story, even if it's not something they think is interesting. And you got to remember, with stories, thinking about human evolution and the brain, we pass down history through stories. That's how we consume based on stories. You know, we talk about social media. Even if you do a 45-second clip, you want a beginning, a middle, and end. you want a hook because you want somebody to go, oh, I really want to hear what happens here. I want to know what happens in this story. It's all stories, and kind of understanding how to tell stories. It's almost a little bit of a lost art, especially in short form content. So I think understanding who you are and how to craft that story puts you like ahead of a lot of people. You know, really good content creators, you watch them and you're like, I don't really know why I watched that because I wasn't that interested, but I had to watch it. Yeah.
I think a lot of artists struggle with story because a lot of them think I need a sub story for it to be a good story. If it's not a good if it's, you get what I mean? Like, for example, a lot of the rappers I work with, they need that I made it from the hood, or I made it, you get what I mean? You can grow up in a nice house. You get what I mean? You can have present parents and still have a story. You get what I mean? But I feel like people struggle because I think it's because there's this glorified I made it out when we talk about music. You get what I mean?
Made it out the hood.
I made it out the hood. I made it out of struggle.
If you were never in the hood in the first place.
So it's like, how do you form a story?
Well, you can start off with when I was young, you know, the nearest Waitrose was like 3 miles. It was a really long walk. It was hard going. Yeah, but that's difficult. I get that. But then you've all got stories, you know, and but then even if you don't have an interesting backstory, the music's your story. The storytelling you're doing your music. I think you've if you become a master at your art, you have stories, and if you don't become a master at your art, you're kind of just playing at it and give it up, you know. Try and master what you're doing to become something that builds a story.
I'm learning from you that it's not, a story doesn't have to be a past. It can be a present. You get what I mean? Like, whatever is happening right now. It's interesting though, because things just clicked, because Ross actually talked about that, and he talked about artists being able to take advantage of where they are right now as part of their story, kind of thing. Do you work a normal 9 to 5? What does that look like? What's frustrating about that? You get what I mean? And then you start to use that story to then create content. What is it like as a mom of 2 that's trying to do music? Not because you're struggling, but because you just have this passion for music, kind of thing. What are the things that make it worth it? What are the struggles? What are the
And that opens up your demographics as well, because like using the mum of 2 example. You know, if the average artist, maybe with children, would be like, I don't want to look like I've got kids because I want to look like the young, cool, fresh, whatever. But if you talk about what it's like being an artist with children, you're immediately not only targeting music fans, but you're targeting parents. And you've now opened up your horizons by 100, you know.
Yeah, and you've also identified yourself as a real person. You know, we're beyond this whole like sort of the idea of the artist as an enigma and this sort of like, I got the it's kind of people connect with real people, and they kind of, to see they've got a real life and they've got real stories. It's like, they might not be the most entertaining, some of them, but it's real life.
I mean, the amount of artists that I've bought into, not necessarily financially, but mentally, like I've followed them and I've watched their stuff and I have their songs on my playlist. It's been off the back of a video that has nothing to do with music. You know, there's an artist that sings with I think it's his niece or his daughter or something like that. And they're just stupid little videos. And she writes like songs about dinosaurs. She's like 4. And I thought it was really funny. And I went to Spotify to find this silly little song he'd released. And then I ended up listening to his actual music. And I was like, oh my God, this guy is insane. So then I ended up buying into him. So, and the other thing that I think a lot of artists need to remember is how nosy people are. Like, everyone wants to know what's going on behind closed doors. Even if it's like your friends and your family, like people just constantly want to know more about the normal stuff, like the day-to-day stuff. And I think artists have this, a lot of artists anyway, have this mindset of like fake it till you make it, like build Rome and they'll come and all of that. And I will say, I think in very specific genres that is important. There's a place for that. I think especially in the UK, and I think especially in like the rap scene, you know, you can't as a rapper go on TikTok and talk about working in Morrison's. Like, it isn't, the fans just don't buy into it. But for majority of genres and majority of demographics, that really works, because I think we're still in a place where there's a huge amount of fans that like to feel like they were the first ones here. And I think, like I say, most artists, that is the case. So sharing the day-to-day stuff is going to actually get you more fans, rather than, you know, how many artists have we worked with that are completely faking it? Everything they do is a lie. You know, they turn up to shoots with like crazy budgets and spend loads of money on their image, but you know, they're still working a normal job and they still live at home, and it's like, that isn't a story you can sell.
And buy streams. to make it look big, which kind of doesn't really work anymore.
Yeah,
But
no.
depending on where you are.
I think the thing with it is the audience is getting clued up as well, isn't it? Like they
Yeah.
know what's not real. Like the younger audience are very, very clued up. I think one thing I've learned is, I think with music is really understanding the buying habits of your demographic. You get what I mean? And knowing what, like, if I always say like 10 years ago, you would never see someone like Elon Musk on Twitter going off, like the head of a multi-billion-pound industry. You get what I mean? But now people want to engage with, people are in Elon Musk. You get what I mean? And I think it's that people, the new audience, want a personal relationship with you as a CEO of your company.
I feel like social media just broke down that
Yeah.
barrier now.
Yeah.
You know, people feel like, I think before social media, artists were almost untouchable.
Yeah.
And that's what people bought into, the whole like fame thing. You know, you'd go and see an artist and you're like, oh my God, I'm in the same room as like your Elvises and your Michael Jacksons and stuff. Whereas now I feel like for a lot of the artists that are on the come up, it's like, I'm not interested in the whole idea of fame. I'm interested in the idea of knowing you as a person and feeling like I've got a friendship connection. And that even goes into the influencers. Like, look at Molly May, for example. If you go onto her YouTube and look in the comments, every single person is like, I love you because I feel like I'm on FaceTime to one of my friends. When you talk, I feel like I'm chatting with someone that I'm really good friends with. And they like that authenticity.
I think this leads us quite nicely into the basics of marketing. We've
Yeah.
kind of already led and
For reals. I think that marketing, because I think that's the two things, isn't it? Branding, marketing. And that's where artists are just like, I don't even know where to start.
Yeah, I guess we're talking about independent artist marketing.
Oh, yeah.
Where you
of
don't
course.
have $500,000 to spend on a campaign.
With the rough money, you can make anything work.
Yeah.
I think branding is the process of understanding who your audience is. Marketing is the process of finding them. So you've got to do the branding first.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you've got to know, okay, who am I trying to find? And
Unless you're
where,
going to
you know,
waste a lot of money.
I mean, that's why
And
you
time.
that's why you can buy your way up. Like, because if you've got the budget, you can just A/B test all the demographics until something pops.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a lot of independent artists, the majority have got zero budget. You know, they kind of like they don't follow that principle that you should spend, you know, probably double at least on marketing that you spend on production. They kind of blow it all on production, and then they go in, they release a track and nobody listens, and they're like, "Oh, this is awful." It's like, yeah, because this is a massive part of the game.
It's something that you said to me that stuck with me, and I say all the time now, that you could have two artists. You could have Ed Sheeran, arguably one of the greatest songwriters that's ever come out of the UK. And he could make a song, he could write a song, sing it, and I put it on my page, and it would get 2,000 views, if that. Or you could take a song that I've done, and you put it on his page, and it will get millions. Doesn't matter how good the song is, it's irrelevant. It's that you have a system and a marketing that works. I think of how many times you hear a song on radio and it's absolutely awful, and then you hear it like 3, 4, 5 weeks, and now you're singing the song, kind of thing. And that's literally just marketing. How do you be in people's face all the time? Doesn't matter how good your song is. It's how do I even make sure people are hearing the song? You get what I mean? Like, yeah, your song is great, but how are you getting it to people?
And as an independent musician, like so, let's think about like the steps. So obviously, social media has to come into it, setting up accounts. And what they sort of like walk through some of the steps that you would take, like with an independent artist, be saying, right, you're starting up, brand new, what they're doing for the basics of marketing to get it right.
Well, I think you can't get into, like I said before, you can't get into it until you know what the brand is, right? So say you've got your music, you've got your brand nailed, the look's great, and you've got your story, right? You've got all of that nailed. Brand new Instagram page.
Would I not argue that that should be a continuous thing?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And brands can develop and grow, but you've got to have something.
Yeah.
You know, if you're, for example, a female pop singer, right? You cannot sit down in a white room with a guitar and sing a song and expect it to do well. It's got to have something that's new.
Yeah.
Not even that it's not necessarily done before, but something that's kind of
Something that's
that people
making
can
them
buy
stop.
into.
Yeah.
Something that's making you stop, right? Because otherwise you just end up in the
void.
abyss, which a lot of artists end up in. So you've got to have the brand first, and then if say we're going from a brand new account to a single release over like an 8 to 10 week, timeline, I'd spend the first 4 weeks posting nothing about music. And when I say that to people on calls, they're like, "What the hell do you mean?" nothing to do with music. But I think this is where the wide net casting comes in, or wide nest casting.
Nest, all the birds.
Like I said before, when someone sees something unfamiliar, they swipe off. So you cannot start an account and go stream my song on Spotify, because why would anyone do that? Apart from maybe your mum.
That is the biggest thing that I think we just to say it in music. When you start off, you need to get that in your head. Nobody cares about you.
Yeah.
That's it.
No one cares about you. No one cares about your music. No matter how incredible you think you are, and you actually might be incredible.
Yeah.
No one cares.
No one cares.
Oh my God, all the time when I speak to artists, they're like, oh, I've got this writer who's written with, I don't know, biggest band in the world right now. And I'm like, yeah, no one cares. Literally nobody cares. But if you start and do 4 weeks of posting day in life content, I mean, again, this is why the branding's so important, because you can't just follow the typical structure of day in the life, behind the scenes, funny stories, like trying to do viral trends. It has to be on brand. So you've got to look at your brand and be like, what kind of content can I create, being the person I am, keeping it authentic, that the average Instagram or TikTok user is going to be interested in, right? And that's different for every single artist I speak to. Like, not one plan is the same. And that's why I'm very against downloading a social media plan and posting it, because every brand's different. So all the content should be different. So I couldn't sit here and say you should be posting XYZ for 4 weeks. But the whole theory is it's stuff that the average person would engage with. And like you said, Steve, it's got to be a story. There's got to be a start, middle and end. But that start has to be about 1 to 2 seconds long. You've got to grab people straight away. And it's the basics that artists miss as well. It's having a hook on screen, having text on screen, having hashtags, and having SEO built in there, which is search engine optimization. So you need to be having keywords on screen. That could be artists, it could be pop culture moments, it could be locations, it could be like anything that people would search, because the algorithm will then push that further. So you do that for 4 weeks, right? By this point, you should be getting at least 1,000 views per video, like at bare minimum. Ideally, you've had a viral spike, 20, 30, 40K. Because now at this point, you can look in your insights and go, okay, Instagram's telling me my videos reach these types of people. That's when you can start testing it on the music. But when we talk about this funnel, it's not a thing of do a load of viral shit and then say, go stream my song on Spotify. You have to convert that audience slowly and slowly and slowly into a super fan that's so interested in you, they're willing to stop doom scrolling, go to, close Instagram, go onto a brand new app and listen to something they have never heard in their life. That's a massive ask. And that's what people don't realise enough.
Yeah. It's that whole thing we talk about, the two-way relationship, isn't it? The fact they have to buy into you in order for them to do something for you. You have to give them something to get something. I can't remember what, you've got to give something to get something. Oh, sorry, it's obscure. It's Billy Blank's Tybo. And if you've never seen the DVDs, nobody will have a clue what I'm talking about.
I don't think I've ever seen a DVD in my life.
Oh my God, I feel so old.
my cassette player.
Yeah. I think it's that. I think it's the funnel system, isn't it? It's the awareness, the interest, and then just because that's another thing. Like, yeah, you've done the awareness, but you're telling. Every time I see someone says go stream my song, I just think idiot. Yeah. And I just unfollow straight away, because it's just like, yeah, why would I do that? Like, why would I do that?
It's a needy friend, isn't it? Oh, do this, do that. And everybody has got that. I always say this. Everybody's got that friend who you just like, they're always like, me. Oh, can you do this? Oh, can you help me with that? Can you help that? And you ask them, oh, can you help me? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy. Yeah.
But again, that pisses you off.
Yeah.
And you've got a relationship with this person. You know this person.
Yeah.
Like some random stranger, an account I've never met, and they're DMing me, go stream my song. Fuck off.
I think we're hardwired to find that just like, oh, go away, man. Because of we've all had experiences of that sort of thing in life. Yeah.
And artists then get upset. No one's streaming my song. Yeah, because no one cares about you. You've got to make people care.
Yeah. So you've done the wide nest. Oh my God. So you've done the wide net cast.
Wide ass nest.
And you've done your 4 weeks. Yeah. So now because I feel like sometimes, obviously the online stuff is important in terms of marketing, but what other things could you be? Because there's going to be people watching who are saying, well, I'm not great at Spotify. I'm not great at social media, which it's going to be very, very hard if you're not, but we can still work it. What's the other avenues? What's the other ways that you could still do similar things in terms of marketing?
I mean, I think, I had a conversation with an artist the other day who was like, I don't want to do Instagram. And I was like, again, the conversation of, yeah, but I've had this big writer on record. And I'm like, well, how are you going to find those people? Like, without unreal marketing budgets, right? Because if you don't do social media and digital, what's your other option? Like, in this day and age, what's your other option, right? But then she goes, yeah, but this band have just come off Instagram and they're selling out tours. And I was like, okay, cool. How long have that band been going on for? 30 years. Of course, because their demographic that bought into them when they were on the come up, they didn't want to go on TikTok and Instagram anyway. So for an artist that's starting out in 2025, I think it's extremely difficult to
Unless
work
you've got
around.
money. And that money, you're still going to be burning a lot.
I also think it's about your expectations. I think it's pretty much impossible to become one of the biggest artists in your country without social media. I think it's impossible. But if you want to be the type of artist that can go to a show and have 100 people buy tickets, I think that is possible. Yeah. But I think it's got to be a much more physical marketing plan.
Yeah, a localized plan. I mean, I think they're really important. That's the other thing that we say a lot to artists as well, is to have that digital street team, that WhatsApp group, that group of a Discord group or something like that, where they can call on people. So when there's a pre-save, please guys, pre-save the music. So we got, I'll name drop this over there, Waterbear College of Music. We're doing a little bit of stuff with them, and they've the student group has got a lot, and they basically had first track from a band that it got nearly 80,000 streams, in a couple of weeks, because that helped kickstart it off and kickstart the algorithms off.
Bet Spotify flagged it.
Yeah, on Spotify Logic.
Well, that's
yeah,
a
of
different
course,
conversation.
Yes, yeah.
So if you're then doing a more physical, because for me, I don't even know where I would start if I wasn't doing social media and I didn't have money.
I mean, I think it depends on the artist, really.
Because you could say maybe play shows.
Well, that's where I'd start. So I'd say, okay, right, do a show, but don't just hire a venue and sing your set and disappear, because everyone's seen that before. And then they can go home and watch someone else on TikTok after the show. They don't have that with you. They can only access you in this moment, right? So you've got to do something that's pretty different, pretty special. I've seen loads of artists doing like sort of sip and paint stuff, where they invite people to their house and they bring them in and they'll sing songs and they'll paint and they'll do like workshops and things. And I think that's cool because it's unique and it's an experience. Yeah. So instead of just saying, I don't want to do social media and I want loads of fans and I want them all to come and watch me and sing my songs, that's completely unrealistic. Like, you have to create something that's immersive, something that's different, and bring that as a product to your local scene. That can then spark off into the music.
And I think getting into the crowd afterwards and talking to people, going around and talk, because they've come out, and maybe it's not a night, they've not come out to see you, they've just come out to see a few bands playing and you're on the bill. You get in there and you make a personal contact. One of the bands I spoke to recently, the girlfriend was in the audience, she got 30 email sign-ups to the newsletter. And that is gold as a band. That is absolute gold to have that. The newsletter, we say this all the time, is so important because you own it. Those email addresses are intentional people who want to hear more about you. Some of them might have thought, I better sign up, it's not going to go away. But, but it's like, but then afterwards the band will go into the crowd and talk to people and make connections. And those personal connections locally, that's massive. And I think that's a huge part of being...
So still working the local scene is still viable. It is still important. It's a slow burner. It takes a little bit longer. And the explosive kind of growth is not quite there.
No, I don't think so. I think unless you get picked up by something crazy, you get like a massive endorsement or someone sponsors you or you get a load of funding, that's obviously slightly different. But I think when it comes to I want to do social media and I don't, we need to forget pros and cons of doing either and start thinking of like the actual structure of this, right? Social media is a chance to reach 1 million people for free. And that's what not enough people are grasping.
That's what people don't grasp yet.
Like, imagine if you did a show. If I said to an artist, you can do a show right now and sell 1 million tickets in 24 hours. How much they would lose their fucking minds, right? 1 million people. I don't know how you'd even fit that in a venue. Yet they don't want to go on Instagram and get that chance to reach those people. And I get it's different.
Because that's the thing, like, people's argument is, well, I'm not converting those millions anyway.
Then they're not doing the conversion right.
Yeah, I mean, the conversion's hard. That is one thing. They're converting people, because this thing is about the platform don't want you to convert them off platform. The platforms are where the game we don't want people moving to another game. We don't want you taking people off to Spotify to a different platform. They want you to stay on that platform. So it is kind of difficult getting them off as well, because they're kind of surviving on dopamine hit, like constantly on that platform. So that's a kind of art form in itself, probably a little bit more advanced for with the conversation
so
here and the
pretty
basics.
much basic marketing is just saying there's two ways to approach it. The best way you can approach it is create content, convert, and then lead them to some form of a community somewhere, kind of thing. So start at the top, wild net casting, create content that's slightly more interesting.
We're
just
from
said-
there.
I got it right.
You said it right.
No, he didn't. He said wild net. He's
Did
gone
he?
from
Oh, no.
Oh my god!
he's gone from wild nest to wild net.
So you're creating the big tin, top of the funnel,
The big thing.
and then you're moving into, I would say, things of interest that but are not you selling a product. So whether that's a cover, a freestyle,
Value. Just
yeah.
value, isn't it? Whether it could be education, it could be
Yeah. And then you then take them into some form of product of yourself that you're selling, but without taking them off the platform. So whether that's saying, here's a performance video of my song. I'm not telling you to go stream anything yet. I'm just telling you, here's a performance video of my song. Then you then lead them to the final step, which is, okay, I need you to perform some form of action. I would argue that now it's actually more important for you to lead them to a community than lead them to a save. You get what I mean? Like saying, I'm going to lead you to WhatsApp group, Discord group, email list to go through my song that pays you 0.0013p. Like it's for
I feel like the mindset for artists is there's an exchange process with any kind of selling, but for the artist it's I will give you my song and in return you'll give me a stream, right? They need to have the mindset of I give you a song and in return I get an email address.
Yeah.
Or in return I get
a point of data somewhere.
some sort of data point, because then you can use that to sell a £10 piece of merch.
Yeah.
And then you're making £10 on your exchange, not 0.001
Yeah.
pence. And if you're getting the emails, you're getting the data, and you're selling, streams are going to go up anyway.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'll probably say the same thing every single podcast when we talk about streaming, that, Spotify treat you as content, treat them as content. It's just a means to grab people and take them away. If your streaming isn't high, but you've got a really good community, brilliant.
But I think
Who
it's
cares?
difficult though, because when you look at, I think it's difficult in two ways. People want the gratification.
Yeah.
Like, you get what I mean? As much as you might be killing it and selling all of this stuff, but you've only got 2,000 monthly listeners, it just don't feel great. You get what I mean? I feel like people will always feel like that. And also when you look at it from how many times have we gone into an artist, like me personally anyway, where people have sent me stuff and I'm just like, it's got like 30 monthly listeners. Bro, why would I even be interested? And the artist might be incredible. So even for you to get potential more investors or more people that want to see the vision and be part of the team without having some form of something on Spotify that says
When you
this
say,
person has got potential.
When you say, if I see someone with 30 monthly listeners, are you talking about you as an investor, as a manager, as a distributor, or are you talking about you as a fan?
I'm talking about me as an investor.
Okay, because that's a different
I think
conversation.
even as a fan though, if I say like to YouTube, and it's terrible because I've had a channel that I try to do stuff on and you struggle to get the views, you're posting everywhere and all that. If I see a video that's got less than 1,000 views, I'm kind of like,
like,
am I going to put my time into that? And that's just somebody who's created content, and it's like I should be putting my time into it. But usually it's because it's got a thumbnail of somebody going,
and
and that's
something
just
cheesy.
like,
I don't know though, because I feel like it's not. I have bought into artists, that have got really low numbers and consistently get low numbers, but it's because their content's sick.
Yeah.
And it's not just that it looks good. Like, they make content that makes me laugh. They make content that I'll send to a friend. Like, they'll make content that's relatable. And I then really buy into them. So I then will go and stream their songs because I'm really invested. And I'm finding them via something that isn't as attached to metrics. I'm not going to Spotify searching an artist and going, okay, I've got a choice between 100K or the crocodile of 1,000, that's not how I'm finding artists. I'm finding artists by scrolling on Instagram.
But isn't that more you? Because I think the argument is that we're now in a generation where anything we do, we're being told what to do. Before you go see a film, you're watching the review. You're reading. You get what I mean? Before you even eat at a restaurant,
I go on
reading-
TikTok.
You get what I mean? Like, so it's like before we buy into anything, we want to make sure that we're not making the wrong choice. We're so scared of having a bad experience that we would make sure that the experience is great. And with Spotify, the way we're looking at experience as monthly listeners, that's the review, which I think is going to be great when they finally take it off.
Well-
Taking off monthly listeners, taking off how many streams people have got, it's going to be brilliant.
So that was a beautiful segue, Victor. Beautiful segue. I could commend you on that. All right, so Spotify could be removing monthly listeners. What's the feeling on that?
For me, greatest news in the world. Like, I think it's Spotify. First of all, monthly listeners absolutely mean nothing anyway. Like, that's what people don't understand. Monthly listeners is not a way to guarantee or read or project. Project, is that the word? Predict success. Like, monthly, you could be doing really, really bad. You had a song you dropped 10 years ago, they're still doing well, and your monthly listeners will be a lot. So monthly listeners literally have no value anyway. Popularity score, different conversation. Like, popularity score is what you should be looking at. But yeah, monthly listeners is just, oh man, get rid of monthly listeners, get rid of the numbers of how many streams people have done, and you will solve a huge percentage of your problems with botted streams. Most people are not doing botted streams to make money because they know they're not making money anyway. They're doing botted streams to give a perception that they're successful.
I hear that. I do hear that. Although I do, as a manager, like to be able to see streams, because even though I know it can be completely manipulated, I think it works as part of a bigger picture. So I feel like if I go to someone's Spotify and they're hitting 1 million streams on 5 songs, I'm like, okay, this looks cool. Like, I wonder what that makes me more likely to go do research. I'll go to their pages, I'll check their Insta, I'll check their comments, I'll see if the comments are actually engaged comments. But if I didn't see that
Initial
number,
data, yeah.
would I have really done a deep dive or not?
I mean,
don't
is
know.
there other platforms you could use though? Because obviously you've got Songstart, you've got Chat Matrix and stuff. Would they still be able to give us in-depth?
Yeah, you'll still be able to pull things from the APIs.
So I feel like that would still suffice. You get what I mean? Or knowing Spotify, they'll probably charge you a little bit extra to be able to view monthly listeners.
Yeah,
I can so see that coming in.
Yeah, I just don't know with them anymore. I mean, just going back to what we just talked about just before is checking out somebody. If they haven't got many people, you'd be like, oh no,
Yeah, I'm not
bothered.
interested. Yeah,
So
yeah.
is this like something finally from Spotify that might actually help independent music? Yeah. Accidentally, I'm sure. I don't know why they're doing it, but
I know they're not doing it out of the goodness of their heart. So there's definitely something else behind it. I'm just not sure what it is yet.
Yeah. I think it's a positive though, because it is that, I don't know, there's too much of a game in it. And like you were saying about artists, we work with some artists who've had like constantly getting that and going popularity score. Yeah. A song might have hit that popularity score where it's getting put into algorithmic playlist, it's getting pushed again. It might have an outside factor. It might have been featured somewhere that's constantly driving people to that song. But they get like maybe 500,000 monthly listeners, but it's really for one song.
Yeah.
And the rest
and
of
it's literally that. Yeah, I mean, we've had artists come up to us for potential features, and you'd be like, "Yo, yeah, great. This person's got half a million monthly listeners. Great person to have a collaboration with." And then you look at the last song that they dropped, and the song has not even done 10K streams in like 4 months. How are you doing 500,000 monthly listeners, but your latest record can't do? You get what I mean? Because you had a huge record a couple of years ago.
Years back, yeah. Or you've landed like some crazy viral video or some crazy editorial or something.
Because again, editorial. I've had artists that have landed songs on an editorial, and now they're doing 60, 70,000 monthly listeners. But then within a month, they dropped that back down to like 2,000 monthly listeners. You get what I mean? So those were never really real fans anyway. Yeah, I think definitely the right move. I'm just not sure whether it's from the goodness of their heart or not. Time will tell.
I don't really, not wanting to do them down, but there's not an awful lot in recent times that Spotify have done which is kind of nice.
True.
is it? You know? Yeah.
Next question.
Next question.
So songwriters are at the bottom of earning scales, is what you're saying. So the fact that there's the people who actually write the music, the publishing credits, they don't make as much money. Which
Wait, are we talking about they're at the bottom of the earning scale in comparison to what? Yeah, but are we talking across all jobs? Or are we talking across the music industry?
Music industry, they say. I am very, very controversial at this. Like, people hate my view on it. Songwriter, I'm sorry, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. Like, it is just the way the cookie crumbles. Is it right? Technically, no. But I think we have a new generation of artists and songwriters and creators in general who are extremely entitled. It's the first generation that finally knows their worth. But I always say to people, because you believe you're worth this, doesn't mean the person investing in you or the market believes you're worth that. I believe I am the best producer in the world. Doesn't mean I can charge whatever I want. Doesn't matter how much I place value on myself. The industry has to tell me what that value is and how I can monetize that.
Spit in here, by the way.
And it sounds horrible, but that is literally it. You can't believe that you can change 30, 40 years industry and the structure of that industry and how it is because you believe now that as a songwriter, you should be paid per hour. First of all, what did that do to the structure of how the deals are done? What does that do to the structure of royalty payouts? What does that do to the structure of advances? What does that do to the structure of independent artists trying to have songwriters? Kind of thing. You can't just demand this or think this should change. There has to be a bigger, wider conversation about how you then restructure the whole industry. That's when you can make that change. So my thing is, you coming into my studio, because I've had that situation several times. I'm not going to turn around to my artists that I'm working with and say, this person now wants to charge so to be a songwriter, when it's not something that the industry endorses anyway or has a way of working. My thing is, I'll pay for your travel and your food. But for me to pay you per hour to songwrite, I don't
When
know.
you've got an artist that's not even making money.
I don't know.
I feel like the thing with songwriting.
And people are going to flame me for it.
No, I kind of agree with you, but I think the thing with songwriters is it's a talent-based skill, right? And obviously that talent requires years of practice and experience and stuff, but I think the same theory applies to songwriters as it does to artists that release music. Like, if the industry isn't telling you, like, this guy's shit, you can't go in and charge. Same with artists. Like, they can't charge Spotify 50 grand to put a track out. Like, it don't work like that. You have to graft and find an audience, and then you get into a point where you can start charging for certain things with features and stuff like that. That's what annoys me about people that charge for features as well. Like, unless you're bringing that monetary value. And the thing is with songwriters, you don't even have fans half the time. So, like,
there's no way to predict that this is going to work.
No,
that's my biggest thing.
That's the problem. And I think we're very much in the, like, old school mindset with songwriters of, if you have this person on your track, it's going to guarantee you this type of reach.
Yeah.
You can't do that anymore. Because most of the time these songwriters are...
They're just ghosts.
They're just ghosts. Like, they're ghostwriters.
Yeah.
And
You're
there's
lucky if you're even on the credits.
yeah, exactly. If you get
Yeah.
points, like, you know, and I think they have this mindset of, because I bring a skill to the table, I should charge for that skill. But for an artist, that skill isn't doing anything to the monetary value of that song. It's just enhancing.
I think a way forward potentially would be give them points on the record. Because it's the same thing when I work, and again, it's the way I've worked because it's the way I've worked with the labels. When I produce a track, I'm not charging you at that moment the production cost. I'm only charging when the record is released. That's the way labels work. And I've been someone who's then brought that to my independent artists as well. When you get in a session with me and I produce a track, I'm not charging you the lease of that beat then. I'm only charging you when you want to release the track. Obviously, some people like to just pay for it then and it's done. You get what I mean? But it's the same thing as a songwriter. Right, great. Make sure your expenses are covered, but then get your point on the master side when the song is released. But you want me to pay you £1,000 to write a song that we might never even release. You get what I mean? Like, make it make sense.
And it's such an independent way of thinking, because if you're working with labels, there is no way in hell they're going to pay anybody unless it's released. Like, the labels that we work with, they're like, make us catalogue, just make us catalogue. And then you put together 20 songs and you go, all right, they'll go, we'll take that one, we'll take that one, we'll take that one, and we'll pay the expenses for the producer and for the music video and but you can't. Independent artists, you've got to work the same way.
And it's not fair. The whole industry needs an overhaul, but my thing is just there's this new generation of creatives who, for the first time ever, know their rights, and it's incredible. It's incredible you know your rights. It's incredible no one can take advantage of you anymore. All of this stuff, but what you think your value is and what your real value is, two very different things.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of happens. And I think the music industry is a bit broken in that sense. But with songwriters, one thing they do get is that long tail. So the publishing credits, somebody, if that track does well, and then somebody records a cover of it, they've got the publishing credits, and they're going to continue to make money down the line off it. So the kind of, if you're a good songwriter and you put yourself around, but it is kind of rubbish that you've got to almost work for free. Or you might get a tiny little bit of money.
Yeah.
But the music industry has got a lot of problems.
I feel like,
along the
unfortunately,
same.
that's just how the whole industry is. The same thing as a producer. You have to work for free.
It's for
that's why
everybody
people
across
started
the board,
selling beats license, and then that even broke the whole industry even worse. If we don't create a proper system, it's just going to make things worse. People started doing BeatStar because of that, and then that made everything even 10 times as worse, kind of thing. My advice is, if you're a songwriter and watching this, learn another skill in the industry alongside. So be a session musician. You get what I mean? Now you're getting paid per hour. Be a recording engineer. Now you're getting paid to run sessions. You get what I mean? There's other skills you can learn within the industry that provides immediate access to money.
And this is one thing we took artists a lot about, is portfolio career. Be good at several things in the industry, then you're always going to be able to find work. If you're already doing one thing, you're pigeonholed, and you're kind of like, if you're really useful to people in several different areas, you're going to be one of the numbers they call when they need help. If you just do one thing, and if you're like, yeah, but I want more money for it, they're going to be like, yep, not that number.
Yeah.
Move on to the next one. The more useful you are, the more work you get.
Oh, that's juicy. Okay, so what's one thing that every artist should hear but rarely does? That is juicy.
I mean, I'm going to go down the Simon Cowell route of, that's not very good. I think most artists need to hear that, and I think they need an alternative set of ears and eyes on what they do, because you get totally caught up in what you do, and it's so easy to come out of it and be like, yeah, that's really good, and then people outside of that look at it and go, no, that's shit. Yeah. You need objective thing, and it's not your family. It's not often your friends, because they don't want to upset you, unless you've got really honest friends. Yeah. But, a lot of the time your friends want to be keeping you kind of sweet. You want people who don't know you, who are going to be absolutely honest and tell you, no, that doesn't work.
Yeah. I think my thing is a minimum 5 weeks release cycle. I absolutely detest when people say, yeah, I'm going to release it next week, or song is out now. I'm like, what do you mean? I didn't even know something was coming. You get what I mean? Like, I'm like, if Beyonce could give me a 3-week campaign role, Beyonce, that if she dropped it out of the middle of nowhere, people would still lose their mind. She can do a 3-week campaign, and you're saying you're a rapper from Austin that has 5 monthly listeners thinks it's gonna do a random drop on Thursday, and it's, bro, like, make it make sense. Mm-hmm. I can't get my head around it. I just don't understand. I'm like, the Delulu level that some of these artists have, I'm like, I need to have that, because
I know
I will be on a different place.
I know, the self-confidence is crazy. I completely agree with that. I think my thing would be, to an artist starting out, you've got to give it 5 years before you start seeing results. And I know everyone talks about the 10,000 hours, but it's so true. Artists think that they can get into the industry with no network, no fans, nothing, and they kind of give it 6 months and then they get bored because they're not seeing the results. And not enough artists realise that unless you've got budget or a team that's got a massive amount of skills and network, you've not got either of those two things, 5 years minimum before you start seeing any kind of, financial return. And I think every artist needs to know that, because when they start making music, they give up because they don't see the results quick enough.
The amount of people that come and just like, this is going to be the one. This is my first song, but it's going to be the one. I'm like, but look at the probability. Like, just do the maths. How?
Yeah, and do you know what? 100%. Everything that you make in year one and probably year two, you're going to look back at and laugh. You're going to look at that and you're going to go, I cannot believe I actually thought that sounded good, because your skills aren't up that level, your capabilities aren't. You've got to train. Everything you have to train, you've got to become an expert in it. And you're always going to look back at it. I had stuff that I look back on from years ago and I just creased myself laughing at how crap it was.
Yeah, I mean, like me and Luca and you, the artist that we manage, he's in year 7, I think, at the minute. Any catalogue from year 1 or 2 is not possible to find on the internet. And if anyone got into my files and posted it, I would be mortified. Like, it's horrific. And if you look at his first 2 years of making music versus now, you just think you're looking at 2 completely different artists.
And I think that even just to, like, because another part of it, when you say you got to train, this is not even about your skill as an artist. Being a great singer or a great rapper is totally different from getting in front of the mic and being able to spit or sing. It's a totally 2 very, very different skills. So you might even have trained to be this incredible vocalist, but you got to train to be a recording artist. It's 2 very, very different things.
And you've got to train to be a performer and to be able to whip up a room that's dead into...
And that takes time.
You get what I mean? So yeah, for reals.
Yeah.
Next question.
Oh my God, these questions are so good.
Oh.
What part of the industry won't exist in 5 years? These are so good.
I think it'll take longer than 5 years, but Spotify. I think they are.
I don't think streaming is going anywhere. I know it sounds bad. Interesting enough, though, a data came out of America 2 weeks ago about how there's a 5% decline in active Spotify.
They've reached peak.
Yeah.
In the USA, they've reached peak. And the thing is, they're a kind of tech company. This is why they're trying to do more and more things, because this is what happens in tech. You kind of reach peak and then you're like, oh, what do we do now? Oh, we'll bundle services. Yeah, the whole thing is be good at doing one thing, do it incredibly well. And then they start diversifying and forgetting what they actually began. And that's why I think they're on a decline. They'll probably still be around like an old
So
TV
it would be
station,
Spotify, not necessarily streaming. Because obviously Spotify keep mentioning this word, streaming 2.0. in everything they put in.
Oh, yeah, the Universal, isn't it? Streaming 2.0.
So which means something interesting is coming. It might just not be Spotify focused.
Yeah, I think we're heading for something else. There'll be a new frontier because that's just the way technology and development works. What it's going to be, I don't know at the minute. We've got ideas of what we think it's going to be like Web3, but is that really?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I think mine would be live event, and this would make everyone lose their mind. I think it might take a little bit more than 5 years, but when you look at in the UK, when you look at the decline of live event, it is scary. Obviously, the government have just approved quite a big fund to help kickstart that again. But the problem with when you approve funds and you don't have people on the ground and know exactly what they're doing and how to work it, you're not doing grassroots stuff. It never works. So I think live event, especially small venues, within 5 to 10 years would disappear.
Do you know what? I think there's ripe for change. And I always kind of say, having been part of youth cultures that change things, I think youth culture will bring something new. I don't know what it's going to be because I'm not a youth. But, there will be something that comes out of youth culture that will kind of surprise us and they'll build something. Hopefully they're all going to destroy social media, but
That leads me quite nicely onto my point. I think TikTok's going to be gone in 5 years. I really do, because I think TikTok exploded in lockdown and everyone was like, right, this is it, TikTok's the thing. Now I think there's becoming a reputation for a TikTok artist and it's seen as a bit cringe and not quite as cool. And I think the age market of TikTok is going down. It's moving down till we're talking like 11, 12-year-olds that are using TikTok. I think it's going to become a kids app. I think it's going to slowly phase out professionals, artists, and it's just going to become an app that's like YouTube Kids or Netflix for kids. I think that's where it's going to go. I think Instagram's going to stay strong because it's part of Meta, and I think it'll take a long time for that to phase out. But I think the new version of TikTok, not necessarily like a short form content platform, but like where all the kids are going, is going to be Twitch. I think streaming is unbelievably underrated at the minute. And I think, I don't know if you said this in the last episode, but Twitch is making me feel old. Like, I'm 23 and I don't understand Twitch. And if it's something that I don't understand, that says to me this is the next thing, because I'm in that generation that has understood the most recent thing to blow up. So there's now something that I don't get and I don't really can't really wrap my head around, and that is streaming.
So what you
I
want to
mean-
take from that is, if you're an artist, you got to find a way to get on Twitch some way, somehow.
So what's something that you've recently changed your mind about?
I've got a really good one for this, I think. I've really started to love AI in the last few months. I know.
Zola's one. Says me. I binge AI. AI is my best mate.
So when I say AI, I don't mean AI as a whole. And when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about ChatGPT. When it came about, I thought this is a complete waste of time. I was making it like write bios for the events we were doing, and it was like, come on down to it was like just so shit.
What was the best one?
Oh, and he said booyah.
Yeah. Wait, can you make this a bit more casual and start with like booyah?
Yeah, that was it. It wrote something like really professional. I was like, yeah, make it more casual. Yeah, the end of the intro was booyah. I was like, for fuck's sake. But yeah, ChatGPT started off being just useless for me. And I'm sure if I was asking it to write like a CV or an email, it would have been really good. But for music, it just wasn't really relevant enough, and I just like disregarded it. And about 3 months ago, I've started to use it again, and the difference is unbelievable. Like, you know, we were using it the other night, and Connor said to me, I've been chatting to GPT like he's my friend. Like, you get the best results doing it that way. He'd message ChatGPT and put, hey, bro, I'm struggling with this idea. And explains it as if he is talking to you.
Yeah.
ChatGPT replies, like, safe G, what you saying? Like, blows my mind. Absolutely blows my mind. But the results he was getting for what he was asking, absolutely genius. And I never thought I'd say that, because how much did I used to say
you used to hate it. Yeah.
And every bio was like, what's the classic? Hailing from, uniquely blends genre and genre. It's just so shit. I think it's got really powerful recently.
Yeah. I think you might just be getting better prompts.
Maybe, but I remember like when I used to use it, I'd go into a hell of a lot of detail of what I'd want, and I'd speak without thinking like a prompt. I'd just chat to it.
Yeah.
I think it seems to be collecting more data now.
Yeah.
Like when I first started using ChatGPT, like for example, we were trying to find a name for a kind of like urban rap music collective, right? And honestly, a year ago it would have been like bars for days or something, like just something really stupid. And I've asked it for specific things with specific meanings, and it's referencing really niche topics that are based in Manchester and artists that the average person wouldn't know, and brands the average person wouldn't know. And I'm like, it literally knows everything. It's getting there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what my opinion's changed on ChatGPT.
You know, something I've changed my mind about lately is the importance of Spotify editorial playlist. Bro, I used to think this was the holy grail of everything. Like, and interesting enough, I was reading a report from an ex-Spotify playlist curator, and they were saying how almost insignificant it is when it comes to actually gaining fans. That's great for your numbers, looks cool on social media when you're posting stuff. For actually gaining and converting fans, almost useless. So yeah, huge. Like, it took a bit of time for that mental change, because it's what everyone buzzes about. New Music Friday. Oh my god, I've landed a new. You get what I mean? Like, and you realize this is actually doing nothing. It's just it's just ego boosts. Like at the end of the day, kind of thing. So yeah.
Just passive listeners.
Yeah.
So a thing of artists who got 70k streams and got 300 and odd followers. You're like, they're just passive. Yeah, you should be getting more than that. You should be generating more interest, shouldn't you? Yeah. I don't want to carry on the theme of just being a chill guy, but I tend to not make judgments on things, so I can't really think of changing my mind on things, because I remember debating something when I was like a teenager, and my mate going, your ass must really hurt sitting on that fence. I kind of always try and put myself in the middle. So I can understand it, even when something's like nearly all bad, I can understand that, there's some good of it as well. So I kind of always sit in the middle.
So nonchalant.
I know, I'm
nonchalant.
just a chill guy.
I'm just nonchalant.
That's probably the way of having quite a peaceful life, to be honest.
So that has been Off the Record, episode 2. It's been great to have you guys. Talked about a lot of great stuff. Don't forget to like, comment, share,
Subscribe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
help people grow, help people find a way for them to keep growing, and all of them things.
And to all our brothers and sisters in the UK, I hope you are not melting as much as we are right now.
It's a very hot day.
Why did I choose to wear a hoodie?
Yeah.
Completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
We out.